would I list the property if I already have a buyer for it? There's absolutely zero reason to list a property. Every property on LoopNet is a complete waste of time. Every property is overpriced.
Let's move on to thinking like an investor.
My philosophy is a multi-tiered approach to every deal. I don't go into it saying I would like to take a listing. I don't go into it saying I want to buy this building. I don't go into it saying, I'm going to broker this deal. My intention with every deal is to find the best possible way to make the most money and make it a win-win-win for everyone involved. So when I'm prospecting, I prospect as an investor, because just like any one of you guys, because I commonly get people like, well, I don't have the money. When I first started, I didn't have the money either. However, if you found a great deal that was 50% on the dollar, right? 50 cents on the dollar, would you raise money to try to buy it? I would imagine you would. If you knew it was a fantastic deal, I know for an absolute fact, you could find a way to get the money. So my philosophy is when I'm making a phone call, I call as an investor first to buy the property. I make an offer as an investor to buy the property. Based on their response, I then adjust accordingly based on the fact that hey, if I can get this deal at a great price, I now have decisions. I have a choice now. I can choose what the best course of action is for this deal. And obviously if they come back to me and they want a crazy, ridiculously high number, it probably is going to be a listing. However, if they come back to me and they accept my low price, which has only happened a handful of times, I buy the property. I made an offer on it. I make the joke about one of the first properties I ever bought. It was a 10 family. And I went to go tour the property. I cold call. He goes, yeah, I'm considering selling. I said, I'll be there. I'll be actually in the area later today. Are you going to be around? He goes, yeah, I wasn't going to be in the area. I just said that. He says, yeah. I tour his 10 family. After we toured the property, I'm sitting on the front porch with him. And I said, listen, I can probably make sense of making an offer at X price. I made him an offer, a ridiculously low offer. And he said, I could probably make sense of that. And then he accepted it. We got a deal done. We closed less than 60 days later. And that was it. And again, we bought this deal at probably 50 to 60 cents on the dollar. I mean, we bought it for 1.35 million. And we got a few offers this past year for over $2 million. We didn't do a lot with it. But my point is, you get to have choices when you think like this, right? So we think like investors, and obviously I'm in investment sales. Obviously it's a little bit different when you do a tenant rep or anything like that. But I go in as an investor, and then based off the offer that I make and their response to it, I can then adjust accordingly. So if they want to accept my offer, great, I'll raise money and I'll buy it. If they come back to me and they, give me a little bit of, let's say they're negotiating, they counter me at an X price, and I know at X price, I probably have a buyer for it. Why would I list the property if I already have a buyer for it? There's absolutely zero reason to list the property. In my opinion, I think every property on LoopNet is a complete waste of time. Every property is overpriced. 99% of properties are overpriced on LoopNet, right? 99% of every listing, I think, is BS. It's just, there's no reason for a broker to list a property if it's appropriately priced, because you're probably just going to have a buyer for it. I'm not in the mindset of ever just listing properties for sale for any reason whatsoever, because if I can't sell it to my investors, fine, I'll list the property, but 9 times out of 10, it's because it's overpriced. And guess what? I also don't want to think about it like this. You list a property that's overpriced. You know it's overpriced. You've told the seller it's overpriced. What do you think is going to happen when you list the property? You're going to get realtors who call you, who distract you. And then they say what? Your property's overpriced. Thanks for the heads up. I appreciate that. I've been saying that for months to my client. I don't want those phone calls. So I give every listing to other agents on my team because I don't want those phone calls. Because I already know what they're going to say. I already know it's not worth 3 million. I know it's worth 2 because I offered him 1.8. So it's just having a different mindset to it, which I think will be super helpful. Our philosophy on our team is we make an offer 100% of the time, every time. So we get a lead, I make an offer on a property. So I mean, I'm making somewhere between 5 and 15 offers a day, every day.
How does social media fit into what we do? Does it fit into what we do? I think a lot of us struggle through this, right? We love the fact that, we could get exposure out there, but how does it really fit into being a commercial broker and using social media?
I feel like a lot of people don't use it appropriately. What I've found is that depending on what you're posting, you're going to attract X type of avatar. My audience, I know for a fact, my audience on social media, I am targeting brokers because I'm looking to recruit for my team. Okay. I'm looking to build a team. Okay. So the content I put out is not to target investors. Depending on what you are looking for, what your goal is what your content needs to replicate. So think about who you're targeting. If you would like to have more clients, if social media is only for hypothetically targeting and trying to work with investors, you also need to realize what investor is actually on Instagram. Not most, right? Let's just be honest. Maybe they're a little bit on YouTube searching up certain things, or more likely than not, they're going to be on LinkedIn. A big time investor would probably be on LinkedIn unless you're very close with them. And then maybe, just maybe, they're not scrolling on freaking YouTube or Instagram or Facebook. That's not what these big time investors are doing. So you need to go where your audience is. Because if you're just posting on Instagram and you think that you're going to be able to post images of just sold of a property and think that you're going to have a bunch of phone calls, you're incorrect. Most people who are following targeting you are other brokers. That's what you're attracting by posting just listed, just sold, under contract. That's not what is going to attract a seller of somebody who's got, let's just say, a portfolio of $20 million worth of industrial properties. That's not what's going to attract them. What's going to attract them is educating the market of saying, hey, do you own, like, speaking to that type of client? Hey, if you own industrial properties, here are 3 ways to increase the value of your property, XYZ. Hey, if you own industrial properties and you have some vacancy, here's the fastest way to get tenants, XYZ. Speaking to them directly, speak to that avatar, because posting other type of content is going to attract a different type of avatar. And just being very cognizant, everything you post is needs to be specific content to a type of avatar you're targeting. And I'll give you an idea. I spend over $100,000 a year running my social media. Okay, I have a large team that handles it. Lots of VAs, full-time people. It's a freaking production. We post 60 pieces of content a week across all platforms. So it's like, it's not just out there willy-nilly. I spend hours and hours and hours every week recording content for social. It also can be a lot easier than that. I didn't start this way. You literally can go on Zoom. This is what a lot of my content is, because I get made fun of all the time. You're so successful. Why are you making YouTube content in your bedroom? I'm like, I'm in my waterfront condo in Miami Beach. Okay. Like, I work from home. What do you want me to do about it? So what I do is I record on Zoom and I just make my calls. I'm being productive, right? Every day I'm making my calls. Just record yourself making your calls, depending on who you want to. I'm saying this is what I'm doing because I want to attract agents to run my team. And I make my calls on Zoom, and then I give that content to an editor. They edit it and they post it for me. Very easy. I didn't do anything extra. And you can pay a VA friggin' $10, $20, $30 for a video. So it does not have to be expensive. You don't have to spend $100,000 a year. I don't recommend it, because I'm telling you also that, like, my social media, even to this day, I'm telling you right now, like, it's not like it's been this huge windfall of money because, I have a decent following. It is a very long game. Remember, like we talked about? I literally said to my team, I said, I'm committed to being on social for the next 20 years. I don't need to make money today, because I know that if I play the long game, I'm going to win over time. So just having a very long-term aspect to it, posting frequently, understanding your audience, creating content regularly, directed to an avatar that you're actually looking to attract.
What other questions do we have out there? Conversion? That might be fun.
So for conversion, similar to like I had mentioned around prospecting, conversion, you need to think about it in the sense of, like, how fast can I get to touching this person? Not physically touching. But I'm saying through text message, phone calls, emails, letters, all the whole nine, voicemails. How fast can I get to 20 touches to this person? Because on average, if you read the all these books about sales, on average, 80% of all sales happen between the 5th and the 12th contact, which means that you're going to have to touch this individual several times, mode of communication wise, right? So I'll give you a quick philosophy, right? In order to increase your conversions, you either need to, number one, increase the speed in which you touch somebody. So what that means is, if on average you're currently following up with somebody every month, you should follow up every 2 weeks. And like, if someone ever says like, oh yeah, call me back in a month, I will always cut the time in half and I will call them back in 2 weeks. Okay. If they say call me back in 2 weeks, I call you back in a week. Okay. And the simple script is literally just like, hey, I know you wanted me to call you back in 2 weeks. I just wanted to call you back and make sure that's still part of the game plan, right? Like, I reiterate right off the bat. Speed in which you touch, increase the modes of communication. So if you're only typically texting somebody, make a phone call first, then always leave a voicemail, then send a text message, then send an email, then send a handwritten letter. Increase the modes of communication. And then number 3 is sort of like a mix of both, which is extend the period of time in which you are in communication with them. Instead of following up with them one time, on average, most brokers don't even follow up at least once. I mean, like, it's like, I think it's like less than 50% of people follow up at least one time. I mean, which is freaking mind-boggling. So, but it's like, it falls off drastically after the freaking next contact. So it's like, realize like, hey, like, I'm going to touch this person 20 times over a year, no matter what. I have people right now that we touch base every single quarter, once a quarter, and like, they're on a campaign where we will follow up with them every quarter for the next 5 years, because they might not be looking to do something today, but I know eventually they will. Even the people who are saying absolutely no, like, no, I'm not interested. Don't call me back. Take me off your list. I'm still calling you.
I love that about the mode of communication, because you never know somebody's style, right? Like, somebody might be more akin to respond to you on an email. Somebody might be more akin to like actually pick up the phone and talk to you. Maybe it's a text message for that person. So if you're not getting through, it doesn't mean you're not going to get through. Change your mode of communication as well.
And there's a lot of times where, like, we'll call up a great client, right? We find out they want a great price. We're like, this is a really, really good deal. We need to figure out a way to get it. And then they ghost us. And we're like, oh my God, like, what do we do now? And then what we do is we play the hot potato game. We'll give the phone number to one of our other agents and say, hey, you call and see if you get through. And then the next agent, and then the next agent, and then the next agent. And all of a sudden they get 2 calls a day, every day, from different phone numbers, but it's all our team. They're going to answer one of us.
That's fabulous. I love it.